Greetings, everyone.
Let's get dangerous.
This is so cool.
I know.
It feels so right.
It's Jake, Ciely.
Opening our minds to new ideas. Kill him!
Who is that guy?
Your mama.
You just made the list!
Oh, wait, you're serious? Let me laugh even harder.
It's all in fantasy. Please of the ranks.
Sure, we talk about it all the time. Really? No. Burn.
Game on, you ducks! It is All in Fantasy Tales of the Ranks Wiki 6.
Dontavian
Right.
Wick 6.
It's Dontavian Wick 6. I like that. Wick 6 weeks. Or 6 weeks. Kevin Weeks, the old hockey goalie.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Yeah, you like that. With an extra E. I didn't even know that. That's what happens when you play for the Rangers. He actually had a take on that stupid contract being turned down. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We are talking Week 6 rankings. If you haven't seen the article yet over The Athletic, Meaney, you might enjoy this one. I did my fantasy squad of cartoon characters. That's what this week was.
Nice.
That came out of the blue. I was actually talking to my brother-in-law over the phone, and we were just talking about nonsense and how we do fun with rankings. And then I forget what he even said. Like something was like, "Yeah, could you imagine if blah 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 was like a fan?" And then that's just where it went. And then so I gave myself rules, and the fact that before 2000. And you can't pick two from the same show, although I kind of cheated. I mean, there are two Looney Tunes in there, but technically one of them had its own show. Just like there are two DuckTales characters, but technically one of them was on another show too. So it's cartoons. I'm bending the rules. So hopefully you can
I'm going to check it out immediately. I usually read your articles before we get going here, but, hockey started last night, so I'm a little bit behind. But I'm looking forward to that. That's fun.
I'll give you a sneak preview. Is there any better option than the Kronkowski of cartoon characters beating Johnny Bravo as the tight end? Like Johnny Bravo tight end. Like
Johnny Bravo.
I started with quarterback, and when people read it later or whenever, I actually changed who my initial pick was because of my rule that I gave myself. But when I had tight end, I was already like Johnny Bravo's tight end. I don't even care. We're moving on and going from there. But we're not talking about that. Make sure you go over to FTN, check out other tools, which I get some of the stats and data that I put into the notes for each game. A lot of good stuff over there, including there's a good, as the dogs are losing it, there's a good open percentage for wide receivers. I'm going to have to give them a treat or something. They are fired up this morning. Hey, there you go. There's treats. Eat the treats. And all the stuff at FTN at Chris Meaney. I'm over at The Athletic. And Meaney, we're going to do something different this week. We're going to kind of time ourselves because we're going to go through the games, but I want to make sure we get these in 40-something minutes. And I did the math. If we all have 16 games, normally it would be 3 minutes, so 48 minutes. So we're getting 3 minutes per. So if we get to 3 minutes and we go too far, I've got little sound effects on my phone and be like, your time's up. That's it. We're done. It's over. So the good news is we can hit the first one. We might even be able to do it in less time because it's Thursday night. So if people listen to this on Thursday night or Friday, we don't need to spend a ton of time. And this one feels kind of obvious anyway. But 49ers at Seahawks. This is pretty much just start everybody, even though it's against the 49ers. Or is there a case in your mind where the only Seahawks you want to start are Kenneth Walker and DK Metcalf, where you would consider benching Smith and Jigba and Tyler Lockett? Because on the 49ers side, as we just saw what the Giants did, Seahawks defense is no concern in the world. And I'll give you one positive note from the article. Kenneth Walker leads the league in missed tackles forced per attempt at 0.38. 49ers are actually 10th or 11th highest at missed tackles allowed to running backs. They're not the fearsome defense. So I'm saying that to say, even coming off the bad game, why Kenneth Walker was one of the ones where I said I wouldn't even think about it. It would be Kenneth Walker and DK Metcalf. Do you want to make a case for Jackson Smith and Jigba or Tyler Lockett?
I was going to put JSN as a sit for our guy Jay Felicio in our start and sit video. I could get behind actually sitting him. What we talked about before between him and Lockett, it's hard to predict. I don't mind Lockett. I think between the two, I know that JSN scored last week. I still think, Lockett may be an okay flex spot for you, given some of the injuries. I played him in your flex league last week and, he got me 8 or 9 points. And I was like, okay, it's all right. I'll take that and I'll move on. And it's kind of what he's doing.
That's great
right?
for a tight end.
Yeah, absolutely. 5 for 46, 5 for 61, 4 for 75. So he's still very much involved in the offense. I actually would lean with him over JSN. I think there's a safer floor with JSN, but I think if you're looking for kind of a home run play, maybe all right for you on Thursday, but it's like a flex play only. You're right about the studs only.
Look at that. We even gave ourselves a little bit of a buffer for extra game time going forward. And I just used a few seconds of it. Jaguars at Bears. Reminder, this is London, baby. We are in London. And Brian Thomas has been amazing against the Bears. Wouldn't be concerned. How about this? Only the Commanders run cover 2 more than the Jaguars. And Keenan Allen is 7th in yards per route run against cover 2. So look, positive. You might be able to get one game out of, like, because a lot of people ask me, I'm bringing this up, would you drop Keenan Allen? And that's what I talk about on the Brian Thomas side. Well, guess who's leading the league in yards per route run against cover 3? Brian Thomas. Guess who runs the most cover 3 in the league? The Bears. No, who runs the most? Actually, they're the 4th most. They are up in the top 5, and Brian Thomas does great about it. I will come back to Keenan Allen. Would you drop him? Would you give him one more game? Would you even start him, knowing that he does really well against cover 2, and the Jaguars are a very cover-heavy 2 team?
Yeah, I may, but it would. I'd have to be hard up.
You start him or you may drop him? 2 different questions.
I may start him. I think
I have that one.
If I owned him,
where's the hey listen? Is it this one? No, not that one. No,
I don't think I was listening at all to this question.
No, there you go. That's you. There. No, because you said it to me. There you go.
Oh, hey, listen. If I don't own any Keenan, if I owned Keenan and I drafted him where I drafted him, I would probably hang on. The past couple games have been good for Caleb Williams. This matchup out of the bye, Washington, and I see a lot of green moving forward, like a lot of top tier matchups for wide receivers: the Packers, the Vikings, the Lions, the Lions again. So it's a really good stretch. He was unhealthy first game, right? 11 targets. It's what you want to see. Of course, he didn't catch a lot of those. And then last week, 6 targets. So second game back into the lineup. I would hang on to him. I'm trying to feel like Jalen Tolbert, I would probably play over him this week. Just the 52-point total. The Lions are struggling against wide receivers. So, like, that's a guy that you may have picked up if you needed a wide receiver. And I do have him ranked ahead of Keenan Allen. But I could see him having a decent game given the matchup. And I would just maybe be patient. But knowing how brutal he's been and you got the bye next week, I could certainly understand moving on from him. So
a little bit more time here. Brian Thomas, I mean, we could always do this, maybe on a waiver show or whatever. You know, there's a way to figure it out. And we can make a list! But we're not doing that today. Is Brian Thomas off the top of your head top 20 at wide receiver?
Yes.
Just a few. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm like thinking about him over Marv the rest of the year. And I know there's a lot going on in Jacksonville, but Marvin Harrison Jr. is averaging like 3.5 catches per game. That's it. He's not even really getting the football.
I kind of went, because I think that's a fair conversation to be had. But, that's it. We're next. We're done. That's it. Next game. We got to move on.
Yeah.
I wanted to click a different one, but that Cardinals at Packers. But there you go. Look at that. How's that work out? Cardinals at Packers. We do have this at a 1 p.m., so we're done with London. We're moving on to regular times. Dontavian Wicks, we talked about on the waiver show. I don't think we need to go much more into that and the fact that don't bench him. Or don't drop him. Potentially don't bench him. The team target percentage that he had in week 5, 28%. If you rank that on the year, and of course it's only one game, but I just want to give people an idea of how much he was looked at in that game. He'd be 12th on the season. That would be 12th highest for the year. Again, super small sample. James Conner, one of the 8 running backs in the NFL with 100% of his team's carries on goal to go. You want to hear something interesting from this list? And we're going to come to probably 2 more of these players. Here's the list. There's 8 running backs. James Conner is one of them. Derrick Henry, Barkley, Ramondre Stevenson, Najee Harris, Breece Hall, Josh Jacobs, who can't get in the damn end zone even though he's doing it, and then Bijan Robinson. So keep all those in your mind. Kyler Murray is the one I want to ask you about. I get in a lot of, I'm worried about Kyler Murray. He's only had one good game, and people aren't wrong. Would you make the swap? You asked me this on SiriusXM about the Kirk Cousins ranking. And, would you swap Kyler Murray for Kirk Cousins in a single quarterback league?
I wouldn't. I would just
after all that.
Yeah, I know. I do believe in Kyler, and he's running this year. Had the rushing touchdown, which really did save you last week. So I feel like he'll figure this thing out with Marv, and maybe he'll pepper him a little bit more. He's been without McBride a couple times so far this season, so I would hang on to Kyler, but I think we were right to rank Kirk Cousins the rest of the year as a guy that was drafted in the late teens, ranked in the 20s. So yeah, I think he's a top 10 guy, at least a top 12 guy, and rather have him than Patrick Mahomes. And I know Juju played the Rashee Rice role last week and he looked good, but I think Cousins looks healthy and he's got two solid weapons.
Patrick Mahomes or Kirk Cousins?
I would pick up Cousins. I would try to. I know I hate playing two quarterbacks, but if I was in that situation, I would try to trade Mahomes first. I would pick up Cousins and then try to move him before just dropping him on the waiver wire. I know he's on a bye, so it's a tough to do. But yeah, I think Cousins should be on, man. I think he should be played the rest of the way. I mean, Carolina's such a good spot too. He's not going to have to throw the ball 60 times, but man, they're allowing 33 points a game.
As crazy as
and Wicks is fine. Play him. He's going to bounce back this week.
Yes,
I really do.
I would actually swap Mahomes at this point
for Cousins.
Kirk Cousins. I don't want to play that game too because you're going to want to play Patrick Mahomes. He is
exactly
Patrick Mahomes
all the time.
Like here's the bigger one. We'll move on from that. He is on a bye, but would you swap Patrick Mahomes on his bye for Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold? Are you going that far? Both of them have been better. Sam Darnold first bad game.
Baker.
Sammy?
No, Baker. Just Baker.
Can't catch it. All right. There we go. Done. Cardinals, Packers. Moving on to Colts, Titans. Would you play? Let me tell you this. Calvin Ridley's been consistent against man and zone coverage. Hopkins sees quite a big boost against zone, and the Colts have the 5th highest zone rate in the league. Can I get you to start DeAndre Hopkins with that? It's not a lot to go on, but can I get DeAndre Hopkins inside the top 40 knowing that?
Oh man, I don't think like him and Ridley. I have late 30s. It sucks, because those guys, especially Ridley, it just the way that this offense is going to run. And you figure with the Colts, I mean, nobody's allowed more. I think only the Rams have allowed more yards on the ground than the Colts, and the Colts have given it up, to running backs. And I just think Brian Callahan's going to say, listen, whether it's Will Levis or Mason Rudolph, we're going to have to run the football here. Pollard's coming off a season high 22 carries the last time we saw the Titans. I just think he's in such a smash spot, and they're just going to slow the pace down and run the football. I can't. And it really is against the Colts, wide receivers and running backs have had good games, but I just don't trust. I've been so wrong with Will Levis.
Here's Wicks or Hopkins?
Wicks
or Ridley?
Yeah. Wicks.
Yeah. How about Tolbert or Hopkins?
Tolbert
or Ridley?
Tolbert.
Really? Over Ridley? I would still go Ridley. I think there's been
I'm just thinking about the 52-point game, lots of points, Dallas throwing the football, maybe Rico struggling to run. I know maybe it feels like I'm just recency biased, but he has, 2 touchdowns in the last 3 or 4 games? Right, I just like that game environment a little bit more. Don't you feel like the Titans and Colts will be slow pace, running the rock? I want to trust Levis or Mason, but I don't.
Ridley, I can't. I don't think I could go Ridley. I can't.
Hopkins,
I can't. I would go Ridley, Tolbert, Hopkins in order because that's how my rankings are. So one more for you. One more, and we do have time for this. Rashid Shaheed with Spencer Rattler or DeAndre Hopkins. Don't you besmirch Spencer Rattler. I don't know if he's going to succeed in the NFL, but he's better than people think.
I think he is better than people think, and I do believe they're going to go with him despite him being inactive. I'll go Shaheed. I'll go Shaheed. I'm concerned about Olave, but I'll go Shaheed.
I'm concerned about both of them, but I'm also concerned about Shaheed because I don't know if Ridley's just going to take ridiculous random shots like Carr is to Shaheed throughout the game. Right. Just be like, I'm just going to take 4 shots, 25 yards downfield, no matter what. And that's what we've been loving about.
Honestly,
Shaheed.
What are the chances of that? Because that's what Clint Kubiak wants to do. We've seen it every game. I've seen it every single game, at least 3 shots. And if you watch primetime, you saw it yourself, but this has happened every game with the Saints. There have been at least 3 shots down the field.
You're done. You're done. Moving on. But you're not wrong. Texans at Patriots. We do have the change. Another quarterback, but this one being the change we've been waiting for because it can't. Here's what I said. It can't be worse than Jacoby Brissett. I said this to you on Sirius XM. I said it to the waiver show. I don't know how many times I have to say it. Everybody's like, oh, there's no wide receivers to throw to. then why do you have hope for Polk down the road? Why do you have hope for Demario Douglas still being a thing? Which, again, I like Demario. I'm saying this coming from the Patriots, like they don't have anything to throw to. Where like, oh, Kendrick Bourne could be a factor. Oh, maybe there's some hope with the other Flyers that they have. Like people are like, oh, they have talent. They have Hunter Henry. They have Austin Hooper. And then it's like, well, Drake May's not gonna have anybody to throw to. Get the freaking hell out of here. Daniel Jones had nobody to throw to last week, and I don't even love Daniel Jones that much. Right. Jalen Polk, would you start him in the first game with Drake May, knowing that Drake May is somebody who will take shots, somebody who has Devontae Walker and Josh Downs and others from college, that Diami Brown, that ended up being things because of Drake May and the UNC offense. So are you starting Polk versus Hopkins this week?
I would see that's a situation where I'd rather just take Polk. I would. I think he's a sleeper play this week. He has been involved, like 13 targets in the last 2 weeks. He's got 4 catches.
You know what his route participation was last week?
I feel like it was close to 95%, man.
It was 100%. It was close. It's 100.
Yeah, and that's just watching, believe it or not, locked into Pat's games. You and I watch it all, so we see it. I see him on the field, and I'm a Polk fan, right? I thought he was a good deep league stash. It's hard to hold that guy on that team in 12-team leagues, but his ownership is 8%. I bet you we're talking about him next week as a waiver wire pickup.
Yeah, he's been in waivers for quite a few weeks. He actually moved up. Let's go back to that real quick. So as soon as the news broke with Drake May, Polk was all the way down. I want to say he was behind the Rams guys of Whittington and Atwell to hold on to them. Demario Douglas wasn't even on the list. Demario Douglas is now 1 spot in front of them at 18, 1 spot behind Keon Coleman, to give you an idea. Polk jumped all the way to 6. I go Smith-Schuster, Polk, Tolbert.
Love it.
And the only reason I go Tolbert behind him is because Brandon Cooks is a 4-game IR. He's coming back. Tolbert might have the job. He might get bounced back and forth with Cooks when he comes back, but Polk doesn't have that to worry about.
Totally with you. I'm totally with you. Polk is the better long-term play, and I'm just in on Tolbert like in this game. I think this fantasy just from Detroit and Dallas could be a fun fantasy game.
Look at this. I'm keeping myself in check. I wanted to talk about Xavier Hutchinson, but you'll have to check the link and come back for another one. We got to get to all these games. Tampa Bay at New Orleans this week. We just talked about it. We do not have Derek Carr for weeks, possibly. Concern of Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. I still have them both as usable, but Olave's in the wide receiver 2 range. Shaheed's in wide receiver 3, potentially even further, depending on, full PPR. He's going to be even further down. Taking shots there. The one thing that you will say here that might have hope, to your point about Shaheed, which is why I was saving it at the time, Buccaneers' 3rd highest zone rate. Rashid Shaheed goes from 1.79 yards per route run and a 6.9 touchdown rate to 2 and 7.6. Not an enormous gap, but percentage-wise, you're talking about a 10 to 15% bump.
Yeah.
And yards after the catch goes from 2.8 to 4.1. Again,
nice. Not
huge, but enough to say, ooh, he's even better against zone. Maybe there's some shots to your point about Shaheed. Do we have a sleeper in this game? Are we just going back to Cade Otton? This kind of feels like you're hesitant on Saints players. Is it Taysom Hill if he's back because it's Rattler at quarterback? Like, where are you going even in this game for a sleeper? Is it just move on and save us some time for another matchup?
I wanted to bring up Sterling Shepard with you on the Sirius show, and I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do it.
I
Sterling
don't care
Shepard.
about 3rd wide receivers.
I know, and that's why I didn't do it. He scored a touchdown, but he wasn't really involved. And it's funny, him and Baker used to play college together. No Palmer, no McMillan again. But I mean, I just feel
they had
like
bunk beds and ate breakfast together and went on walks.
They may have. I gave that out on Mean Streets. It's like a 5-1 fun touchdown play. I highly doubt anybody played it because it's like,
you hit it.
Cool. Shepard. But no, I feel like they'll probably just run the football, and I feel like the Saints are really going to run the football too. I mean, how many times are they going to give it to Kamara? The offensive line Spencer Rattler's coming into a really tough situation because the line is not good at all. And that's part of why Carr got hurt and Kamara didn't have a good game. So I don't know, man. They're going to use a lot of Kamara. They may even use a lot of Jamal Williams. Just kind of giving him some free time.
We have an extra minute. Would you buy low on Kamara or Olave with this situation?
Not Olave.
No?
I'm worried.
Were you concerned about Olave already?
I was.
Okay.
Because we brought this up yesterday on the show with Dane, just kind of put him on, we made a bus squad and put him on the bus list. Is just looking at the numbers this year, he was averaging like almost 9 targets per game last year, and he's at like 5. So they're running the ball more. I think he brought it up on the series show as well. The run percentage is pretty high. They're not what they want to do. What Clint Kubiak wants to do is run the football, and use play action, take those shots. It's what we've seen. So I am concerned. I wouldn't buy low.
3 wide receivers I was off of in the same kind of conversation this year, and they were Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and Michael Pittman. And touchdowns being a big part of all 3 of them, more so for the first 2, because I still think Pittman can get there. But we need to move on because I'm not going to hit the buzzer on myself. Browns at Eagles. Boom, got it in time. This is bad for the Browns. Are they the worst team in football, or are the Patriots still worse? They've switched to Drake May now. Like, at least there's some hope there. Like, you could argue, because the Browns don't even have a defense anymore. That used to be one thing you could say. This is bad. I'm saying all this to say, would you start Amari Cooper knowing how much your young secondary, I say that because Meaney's an Eagles fan, their young secondary has definitely been struggling so far. Would you start Amari Cooper, especially because the area they struggled the most in just past years, and it hasn't been fixed, is that slot intermediate area? So Cooper, a wide receiver 3, even with Watson this week?
Yeah, I would. He's still getting the volume. He's been disappointing. He's really struggled with drops. It's a touchdown called back a couple weeks ago that would have been like an 85-yarder. Maybe we're looking at him a little bit differently. But yeah, I would. I don't feel like the Eagles should be favored by like 9 points against anybody at the moment, but they are getting everyone back and Lane Johnson on the offensive line. So I think the buying window for like anyone on Philly, including Jalen Hurts, is probably closing. Quinion Mitchell is starting to take the top corner. He took Mike Evans last week, the last time we saw Philly after Evans was burning him earlier, and it was fun. It was mic'd up. They showed it on NFL Network. Man, that kid likes to chirp. Evans like, do you know who I am? He's like, yeah, of course I know who you are, man. You're a stud. Like, so it was fun, like back and forth between those guys. Maybe Quinion takes Cooper, but I would play Cooper. But you're right, man. They're not stopping the run in Cleveland. They're not stopping the pass. And of course, we know that they're not running the football really well, and they're not passing the football well. Yikes!
You want some?
It should be better. They're a better roster than New England.
You want to get some good news on your boy AJ Brown? How about this? Since the start of 2023, because I wanted a bigger sample than just 2 games for AJ Brown. The second highest yards per route run against cover 1. Tyreek Hill is first at 5.96, which is bonkers insane. And that's even including this year. It was higher. Insane. It was higher than this past few games. AJ Brown's at 4.46, which is also still a bonkers number. Guess who runs the most cover 1 in the league? The Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Dude,
Mr.
AJ
Short,
Brown,
welcome back.
You're going to go ham this week. Look at that. We even gave us some extra time on buffer. I don't even have to play the little chirpy thing again. So, Commanders.
You sitting forward or you're playing forward?
Oh, look, he's ruined it, Meaney.
I had to throw a little curveball in there for you. I just try to avoid Cleveland's back.
You know the answer.
Yeah.
I'll do the same thing I did my wraparound podcast. Don't go chasing Browns running backs. Like,
until Chubb comes home.
No. Sidebar. Oh, I got to get this in 15 seconds. Sell high on Chubb right before he comes back. There's no guarantee that he's 100%. It's not Javonte Williams from last year. Although I still think he could have top 12 value. If somebody's going to give you top 12 value, you get all the risk out of your team and all the reward. Perfect timing. Commanders at Ravens. Boom. Here we go.
Cosign.
Straight up. In this game, like, you're taking Lamar Jackson as the number 1 quarterback this week, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Seems to be very heavy consensus. Is Daniels 2, or is the concern of the Ravens, who didn't have much of a defense last week? But, I mean, it's Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow knows this team. Jamar Chase knows this team. T. Higgins knows this team. The Ravens staff know this team. Or, the Bengals staff know the Ravens. So, I'm not saying their defense is as fearsome as it has been, but I'm not being like, oh, man, the Bengals tore them up. The Commanders should have no problems. This is the first real test for Daniels. Is Daniels 2? Is he 3? Is he 4? Like, where is Daniels this week? I know you're starting him, but is there a conversation here?
Yeah, I have him at 3. I have Hurts at 2. So I could see
I would
Burrow
almost
maybe.
Burrow against the Giants.
Yeah, like, he's been awesome, Burrow, the past couple weeks, right? Ever since Higgins' return, he's been great. It's not his fault. The freaking defense is awful, man. Like, and that's part of it. Like, the Giants may actually hang around in this game if Malik Neighbors is as healthy. So this is the true test. It's on the road in Baltimore, and Jaden Daniels, he's got 4 touchdowns. He's running a lot, and he's still going to run. So I still the lowest I would put him is probably 4 behind Burrow, but I actually think Baltimore is going to give him a reality check in Washington this week.
Do you like the sleeper call of Justice Hill just because if the Commanders can be as efficient as they have been, or even close to it, then you can push the pace on both sides, and that leans more towards Justice Hill. Okay. Because other than that, it's like you're starting Zay Flowers. Even in this matchup, you're starting Terry McLaurin. You're starting the quarterbacks. Get the hell away from the tight ends. If you held on to any of them and you can sell the tight ends, please do. Like, people are like, should I trade Mark? Yes. Should I trade Isaiah? Like, yes. Like, don't even finish. Yes. There are 7 tight ends I would trust. None of them are on the Ravens because they have Kohler too.
Yeah, you're just hoping that if you have, I would honestly keep Likely of the 3, like depending on your situation, just because he scores touchdowns, and I think you're just hoping for touchdowns.
Yeah,
it's like I'm putting him on my lineup and hope he scores a touchdown. He's going to be a top 10 tight end because he's really only had like 2 games, and he's a top 5 tight end. But yeah, I would, if you could move on from any of them. It's just so hard to predict like the Hill and Flowers games because you need the other team. It seems like watching the Ravens, like those guys are going to get involved when the other team is scoring as well. So maybe if Washington scores as well, then we see Flowers, then we see Hill. But if Baltimore is just like crushing teams, like we've seen it against Dallas, Flowers, where are you? You're nowhere to be found. Andrew's not getting any targets, is on the sidelines, but we'll see if Washington can push the pace. I do like the sleeper call.
That was it. You just, I mean, like in the buzzer. I actually would have got you by coming. 1 second, but it wasn't coming as I just wasted 10 seconds telling you that. Next game here, Chargers at Broncos. I'm going to give you a toss-up here for this one. Would you rather start McConkey against the Broncos or Shakir against the Jets?
Man. I think I would rather.
This is like the bad. Or wait, no. I guess Sophie's choice is a bad choice. So, like, I was gonna say this is the bad Sophie's choice. So like, what's the? I don't know. Like, you get my point here. They're both bad.
I do.
Like, and I like both of them. These are both my boys here.
Yeah.
And I like both, but both of them are in a bad spot.
They really are. They really are. I think I'm going to go McConkey.
I have McConkey 1 spot. Like, so here's my rankings. I go Smith and Jigba, McConkey, Shakir, Shaheed. There you go. That's how I rank those 4.
Yeah, I'm pretty close too. I have McConkey. I probably need to adjust Shakir. I have McConkey at 37, Shakir at 40. But yeah, they're both really tough spots. I think maybe in the slot. I mean, for both of these guys, I may avoid some of the top corners, but I mean, both defenses are playing awesome, including the Jets.
So the separation score things I was talking about over on FTN and everything, Lab McConkey's in the range of Zay Flowers and T. Higgins, to give you an idea.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, he's been balling out.
He's got great footwork. Yeah, he's a player, man.
I love some Lamb McConkey. You know that. J.K. Dobbins, I put as the sleeper. I mean, it's not a true sleeper, but I mean, if you're going to start somebody on the Chargers, it's Dobbins and McConkey in the end. Yeah. And then the one area that you want to try and beat the Broncos is on the run game. So giving us that buffer back, I stole it back. Steelers at Raiders. Should we just buffer this entire game and just move on?
I don't even know if I want to start Pickens.
I was gonna say you're starting Justin Fields. You're starting Brock Bowers.
Yes.
Is that it? I mean, I would start Pickens against the Raiders, and I would think about maybe Jacoby Myers, but I see. Actually, you know what? I'm going to turn this to a different question for you. I see a couple in the comments that people are like, if they switch to Aiden O'Connell, things will be better. And my first reaction was, did I really just read that sentence? Did I really just read?
It's going to be the same.
Like, I know, and people are like, "Oh, Jacoby Myers is going to be peppered; it'll be fixed." And I'm like, "Wait, did we watch the same team? Like, is this the same Aiden? And I'm honestly asking something. Like, do I have like broken memory or something? Like, am I missing? No, seriously. Like, did I miss something? Like, did Aiden O'Connell look good at times? And because I felt like it was a lot of like, okay, he
did pepper Devontae Adams down the stretch of the season. There were a couple games where like Adams had like a ton of targets, but there was a game last year where Aiden O'Connell did not complete a pass after the first quarter. I remember watching that game. I think it was on Christmas. It was against the Chiefs. He did not complete a pass after the first quarter. So he can
That's what I
pepper
remember.
whoever he wants to. I think Jacoby is interesting moving forward as a guy that's going to get some volume.
I don't think it's any guarantee that it's not Trey Tucker.
And I'm with you on that too. Like, it wasn't a Tucker game last week. We saw a little bit more Jacoby, and these guys are just going to be flex plays at best.
And here's the thing.
At best.
And I know Minshew was with the Colts last year, but he had questionable weapons for much of the year too. Let's be honest about that. So similar completion percentage going back to, if you start 2023 through now to make sure we get the sample, we get a lot more Minshew on the Colts than we do on the Raiders, but we do get a lot of, it's Aiden O'Connell. Everybody's like, oh, the completion percentage is going to, no, it's actually about the same. And again, you could argue Minshew on the Colts, but I'm not going to be like, oh, it was so much better with the Colts.
I don't know why I had optimism for this squad. I mean, obviously Adams not being there doesn't help, but I felt like they could be okay. And I'm saying like middle of the pack offensively. That's what I thought. Maybe like the O-line was all right, that Gardner can just be an average quarterback. But of course, when you don't have Adams, it doesn't help. Good stuff for Brock Purdy. I mean, Bowers rather. I mean, he's leading all tight ends and targets.
You know
catches in the year. It's just nice to see.
That's it. We're done talking about
enough
the
about
team.
the Raiders.
I didn't even give him. I didn't even give him 3 full minutes. Lions at Cowboys. We talked a lot about Jalen Tolbert. He is my sleeper this week. I would say, so I brought up the fact that against the Lions, Kenneth Walker went bananas, a nuclear against the Lions, and still have the 4th lowest yards after contact allowed to running backs and stifle the run, even including what Kenneth Walker did to them. So anyway, CeeDee Lamb, 2nd in 2023 in yards per route run against man coverage. I think your buy low window is right now before he faces the Lions and potentially goes off against the Lions. They're 5th heaviest in man, and that's what I want to go back to. Does that include a Tolbert play, or is this one of those ones where it's a potential, hey, he had a really nice game, we want the excitement, whatever it is, this just could be a CeeDee Lamb 12-target pepper fest, and all of a sudden Tolbert screws us? Or it's just, this is how you beat the Lions and they should be fine. Actually, you know what? And including in that, is Dak top 10 this week?
Yeah.
He hasn't been top 10 a lot of weeks.
He hasn't, and I do have him right around 10. I mean, Detroit doesn't have anybody to take away CD like some teams that he's played lately with top corners. He had a game against them late last year where he had 227 yards. He had 13 catches. He actually crushed them. But yeah, I like Tolbert. I like the sleeper call. He's been involved. Ferguson should be, have a good game too. Detroit's going to do what their strengths. They're going to run. I had a hard time actually ranking Gibbs and Montgomery because I just like they're side by side. I kind of lean Montgomery a little bit more. I was hesitant to put them up like 5 and 6 because there's other backs that I feel will touch the ball more than
5 and 12.
Do you?
I put Gibbs higher. I think it's coming around for
9
Gibbs.
and 10. It is. Okay. A couple goal line attempts last time we saw him. Yeah, roll out everybody that you can. Even Rico Dowdle, even in a tough spot. He was in a tough spot last week against the Steelers. 20-plus opportunities. He's got back-to-back games with receiving touchdowns. I'd play him.
Before we get away from the Lions, which do you think is more important if you had to make one move? And, of course, if you could make the move. More important to sell high on Jameson Williams or buy low on Sam Laporta?
Buy low on Sam Laporta. I think we're a little bit different there, you and I, on Laporta.
No, I'm with you on that.
Okay.
No, I think Jameson Williams, I have him as a sell high, but I also have Laporta as a buy low. The talk of the ankle injury from week 2 that was really kind of hurting him before the bye, and then he was playing through that. I think it potentially comes around here. And the reason I thought about that is because Gibbs actually doesn't even have a reception in his last 2 games, which is really weird.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't even pick up on that. We love JMO heading in. Like, make him available. That's what you do. You make these guys available. You see what you can get. Maybe you up at the top. Can you get Tyreek Hill from somebody in the basement? That's something to consider.
I think
but we love JMO, and we wanted the breakout, and it's here, so enjoy.
Look at that, perfect timing. You're getting good at this. Like you have the little clock on the side.
I know the timer's for me. I know I ramble, so I respect it.
Falcons at Panthers. Tyler Algier, I think, is in play as a sleeper. I mean, we just saw the Bears had no issue running the ball against the Panthers. Here's some good news about Deontay Johnson. How about that? You want a bounce back game for Deontay Johnson? By the way, I don't know if you know this, Meaney, but the league, NFL, not even NFC, not even division, not even team, the entire damn NFL, Deontay Johnson leads the league in red zone and end zone targets. Leads the league. If you told anybody through 5 weeks, Deontay Johnson, even with the hope of the rapport of Bryce Young, and that's everywhere he looks, blah, blah, blah. Nobody would have guessed Deontay Johnson would lead the league in both, let alone the end zone ones. So buy low window there. And also 2 yards per route run against cover 3 compared to 1.7 against everything else. Again, not a huge gap, but enough. That's 17, 18% boost there. 5th highest cover percentage in cover 3 are the Falcons. So you can get a play here. But let me go back to Tyler Algier. Are you worthy? Yeah. Is it worthy? Is he worthy? Put it that way. I don't know how I want to phrase this. Is he worthy of being a flex running back when you're starting a timeshare second piece on a team?
That's especially, I think, in this spot.
Okay.
I'm trying to think about other backs that have standalone value. Like I'd rather play Bucky Irving. I'd rather play Tank Bigsby. I'll probably play Algier over Braylon Allen this week. Yeah, I mean, he's involved. We talked about it. You know, we had your colleague on the show last week, and he said he's going to continue to be involved.
Okay.
So
do you agree with this? Here you go. This is from, you said Bigsby? Okay. I'm actually going to go one higher than that because I do have Zach Moss in the rankings as of right now. So 27 is Chase Brown against the Giants because I have Zach Moss in the rankings. Chase Brown, Tank Bigsby, Bucky Irving, Jerome Ford, Tajay Spears, Tyler Algier, Braylon Allen, Tyrone Tracy. I also have Singletary in the rankings, Alexander Madison. Does that list sound good?
Yeah.
Sound about right to you?
Looks kind of like my list. Yeah, that's the order that I would roll these guys.
We just made a list.
We just made a list on the fly. At some point, we're going to see Bryce Young. That's all I want to say. Ride this thing out with DJ, but at some point, we will see Bryce Young again. We just have to. And if we don't, it's over for him. He'll never play again for Carolina. I promise you. If he doesn't get a snap again, I'm not talking about late last week getting a snap. If he doesn't start one more game this year, is over for him in Carolina. He has to play another game or two.
He has to get a chance in there. Super real quick. Panthers passed the 5th most in goal to go. Johnson is second only to Keon Coleman in team target percentage and goal to go. Boom, got that in. Bengals at Giants. That was a fun stat I wanted. Chase Brown.
Fun tidbit. Yeah, I like that.
Right? Chase Brown, whether or not Zach Moss is playing. I actually have Zach Moss pushing top 15 if he's healthy. They said that he's fine. So we're going to have to, watch practices. We're doing this Wednesday morning. But if he plays, I'm still playing Chase Brown. If Zach Moss is out, Chase Brown is pushing top 10 against the Giants.
I was going to say top 12, and I thought that may be aggressive, but yeah.
No. This is the Giants allow the 2nd highest yards after contact and the highest missed tackles allowed per attempt, despite having a 10th highest stuff percentage. This is what I wanted to pause on this and kind of point this out for everybody just to remind it. Like you and I have talked about before, I've even said it to you. This is why when you talk about defensive fronts and stuff percentage, it's relative, but you also want to tie in more stats. And also when people talk about stacked boxes, of course, if you had 20 runs against 8 defenders in the box, you're not going to average as many carries or yards per carry as you would if it was 4 the entire game. We know that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, on a team like the Giants are the perfect example. A lot of times, all it takes is getting past one person instead of 3 to turn into 140-yard run. And with the missed tackles in that linebacker squad and secondary and everything after contact, that's what you're seeing with the Giants. So this is why I like both of them. Chase, Higgins, everybody, neighbors, you're playing Wandell. Daniel Jones, that's the one. Are you starting him this week? Question mark. As a QB 18?
Yeah, I actually think I have him 19. So I actually have him 17. I have him 17. So you could. I mean, super flex, obviously. That's really it. Yeah, 5.1 yards per carry allowed on the ground. That's part of it, right? The Giants, they've allowed the 2nd most yards per carry, so like they've given up a lot of big runs. But yeah,
who do you have?
Since he's going to push the pace,
right behind him, I have Geno, Dalton, Lawrence, Levis, Rogers, Nix, Watson. Do you have any of those in front of him?
I have Geno at 16.
Oh, so there you go.
Yeah, I see Geno top 10 in our projections. I don't buy that this week. There's much better options. Yeah. The guy that I'm most sour on is CJ Stroud. I know we kind of skipped over the Texans. You're probably playing CJ Stroud, but I have Kirk ahead of him and Baker ahead of him.
I have Stroud at 12, sandwiched between Fields and Baker. So you have Baker.
I got him at 13. And I have Fields and Kirk and Baker ahead of him. Yeah.
Well, we had a few extra seconds, so you're able to use it up. I like that. We got Bills at Jets, and we mentioned Khalil Shakir, who is actually my sleeper. Josh Allen clearly needs him. He's also his first read 21% of the time, and the Jets actually let teams throw to their first read 76% of the time, fifth highest. Why? Because a lot of times the first read is not the person that's got Sauce Gardner on them. Like they're looking for, and they're getting the ball out quick. They're trying to. The Jets have passed 61, almost 62% of the time in goal to go. Garrett Wilson, 42.9% of his team targets in that situation. Are you giving Garrett Wilson one more week before you try to sell high, or are you getting out before the bottom potentially falls out?
I would make him available. And I think it's a good time to. Yeah. I've been back and forth really with him, to be honest with you. Like, I viewed him as a buy low candidate. I thought, like, with the whole Devontae Adams thing, the window to buy was open. I thought it was very, very risky at the time, but now coming off that big game and just watching the way Rodgers has played this year, I think the targets are still going to be there in the volume. I don't believe that Adams is going there. So I don't know where Adams is going. He's kind of running out of options, but I'd make him available. Yeah, I would take, let's say, I honestly would take Brian Thomas Jr. ahead of him, and I think he can get something else. Like, if I was a Garrett Wilson owner, can you give me, Rico Dowdle too, or Tank Bigsby, a flyer type running back? I would do something like that.
I think that's
by the way, Josh Allen has struggled against the Jets over the course of his career. Keep that in mind.
He has. This is, I think, the lowest I've ever ranked Josh Allen, and the only reason he's not
Where do you
ranked
have
lower is
him?
because you go back to it. I know it was the lowest. I remember seeing.
I got him at
like
7. And that's
10.
probably extreme. Okay. Yeah. Nice.
I have Kirk Cousins and Kyler and Dak all in front of him.
I
Purdy
respect
too.
it. I respect it.
The rushing touch, like, he would be lower if not for the rushing touchdown upside.
Right.
So you said something about the trade. So somebody asked me, I was like, would you trade Michael Pittman for Josh Downs? And I was like, so here's the issue. Is like, I actually like Josh Downs more, and I broke this down. I actually even said on Twitter, if you go back to Anthony Richardson's success in college, a lot of it's on seam routes and slants, and all the big plays were 90% of them were like on seam routes, and a lot of them happen in play action. But, oh, by the way, what is Josh Downs like? He's like Ricky Pearsall, Justin Shorter, who was there. Like, those plays. Actually, the only reason people took flyers on Justin Shorter, Bills, by the way, is because Anthony Richardson helped them be a thing. And no, he wasn't throwing for 4,000 yards and 40 touchdowns or 30 touchdowns. But those plays, what were in play, is that's why when I keep saying I like the fit of Downs, that's why I like the fit of Downs more than Michael Pittman. To come back to the trade, we have a little bit of buffer here at the end. It's that, sure, I would probably lean towards Downs. I mean, I would lean towards Downs over Pittman rest of the season with Richardson, but you can get more than that. The perception is still Pittman. And I think that ties into your whole point about your trade is that, yeah, we can say these things, but also understand perception. You can still possibly do more or even give up less. You brought up Brian Thomas. I'm trying to think of somebody else in that. Garrett Wilson versus... What would you send Garrett Wilson right now? You are 4-1, 5-0 for Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would. It's a risk, of course, but all signs point to Tua coming back. So we know.
How far would you go with this? Would you trade Garrett Wilson straight up for Puka Nacua? By the way, Jordan Rodriguez of The Athletic, I reached out to, and they said, she said to me, the timeline looks like week 10, that's the assumption right now, unless there's a setback. So assuming the Rams are safe with him. You shake your head, but I don't think there will be a setback. I think my setback concern is it's the team setback, is that the team is 2-7, and it's like,
where are they at?
Yeah,
when he comes back? I wouldn't do that move.
Okay.
I wouldn't do that move. It's a good point that you brought that up. That's kind of where I was going as well, is forget the setback, but I also don't want to trade for an injured player that's on a team where they're already shorthanded, and we've seen.
Would you trade Xavier Worthy for him?
No, I'd just keep Wilson.
You got to go deeper.
It's just too boomer bust with Worthy. He's never going to be a volume guy, and that's kind of why
I meant trade Worthy for Nacua.
Oh, yeah.
That's more in the range.
You can get me. I can get behind that one.
you'll be happy, Meaney, as we get out of here. Not only do we keep this to 45 minutes. Oh, by the way, please check out FTN at Chris Meaney. If you didn't hear on the waiver show, please tell your friends and family and everybody. Like, we need to get our listenership back. You did a really good job so far, but we're like 55% of the way there. We need to get back to 100%. And we love you guys and appreciate you for that. But real quick, what was I going back to on this? Oh, I won Juju Smith-Schuster in waivers in my home league for $23.
$23. I am proud of you. Nice. I'm kicking myself, man. I could have picked him up for free like Sunday morning, just as like a little spec ad and stuff. So I know we talked about it on Monday, or yesterday rather on this show, but man, it did look like he was playing the Rashee Rice role, and Worthy's never going to be a volume guy. He did look bursty. He looked comfortable in that role. He's not going to do that again. But he's a guy that I think projecting moving forward, I could see like 5 for 50 consistently, like kind of like Chris Godwin type numbers. That would be definitely a wide receiver 3. I just can't believe
I'm staring at Smith-Schuster on my roster.
Hey man, I feel about
you know what the word you said the spec. If you want to feel better, do you want to feel better about a spec ad in our flex league? We're in the same league with Jamie Eisenberg. My flyer stash was in case this Dobbs situation continues and I threw Bo Melton on my bench and he threw Juju Smith-Schuster on his bench. Freaking Jamie Eisenberg.
Eisenberg, man, doesn't make a bad call. I thought I picked up Slayton in your flex league, but it was a serious. Like I was jacked to talk to you about it. It was like picked up Slayton, I think an hour before kickoff, and I'm like, man, I'll just take a shot in this guy. You know what I mean? I'll just play him over Mike Williams, and it was like, yes, let's go.
I know you didn't pick him up in the flex league because I did and had him on the bench for Trey Tucker last week. Does that make you feel better?
I probably would have played Tucker ahead of him too, but yeah, it was a serious hosts league, and I played him against Ratcliffe. Feel it.
Speaking of which, in that league, Trevor Lawrence just hit waivers. He done. Would you take Trevor Lawrence or Daniel Jones the rest of the season?
Yeah, was that me? I think it was me. Remember when we joked how I said I would pick up Lawrence? I didn't want to pick him up before. I was like, I'm gonna wait until.
Brandon Murchison dropped him.
Okay. No, I'm not done on Lawrence. I guess I just have a soft spot. Maybe it's because of Brian Thomas Jr. I just
you
feel
didn't
like
answer the question though. Trevor Lawrence or Daniel Jones rest of the year.
I would go with Trevor Lawrence. I would.
Oh my, that was the most.
Yeah.
Somebody twisting your arm that we can't see on camera.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe it's Brian Thomas. You know what I mean? Like that's what makes me feel better about Lawrence and how he can take another level because he's got a touchdown machine like Brian Thomas. So that's where I'm at.
There we go.
Without even looking
moving
at
the
schedule.
mic. If you want to go on YouTube later and look at it, I'm moving the mic so you can see the wonderful Brian Thomas signed football.
There you go. Very
I love
nice.
you, Brian Thomas.
These matchups.
And
Green Bay, Philly, Mini, Detroit. It's not too bad. Those get tough in the playoffs, though. That's actually something to keep in mind. Jets week 15, you're not going to want to start him.
No. And I thought about getting a Brian Thomas jersey, but then I saw how much they are, and I was like, if that doesn't come with a signature on it, I'm not buying one.
Man, why is jersey's so expensive?
Chill out, NFL.
Come on, you're already making enough money. Like, come on, help a guy out. Put some jerseys on sale.
So yeah, we'll be back. I'll be back for the quick run through mailbag on Friday. So send in your questions, hashtag all in answers if you put them on Twitter, because then I could just search the hashtag and find your questions or drop them into the comments. And sometimes I'll pull from there. And hopefully you enjoyed my fantasy football cartoon lineup. Then it actually included 4 defensive players as well. So got Chris Meaney. Just because I wanted more. I got 12. I got 12 characters. I kind of I didn't want to stop at 9. So
yeah,
well, technically 8. There is no kicker, not surprisingly. But there is Chris Meaney and hockey and lots of good stuff. And Fox probably sitting there wondering how long I'm going to go before he cuts me off, because that's what I like to do these days. Just make him confused and uncertain and play. You know what it is? It's like the staring game. What is the game where you face each other head on and like the chicken? We're playing chicken. He's going to see how long I keep going and keep coming up with things to say before he finally cuts me off, because he's cruel.